What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of UGUE Brothers Vlogs. Guys, this is another edition of Savage Kitchen. Alright, guys, I got an awesome recipe for you. This is a keto-friendly taco casserole. This recipe is banging delicious. I've made it twice so far with some minor differences, and each time it's been fan-freaking-tastic. It's filling, it's great, it's super easy, and crazy cheap to make. Ingredients are widely available, and it's just nummy. So, guys, without further ado, let's get cooking. Alright, guys, here we go. Taco casserole. Alright, this thing is so stinking good. All these ingredients you see here, super easy to find and delicious. And you can actually change a lot of these things up, especially if you don't like spicy. I chose to make this a little extra spicy this time, just to play around with some peppers, but you don't have to do that. You can leave a lot of these peppers out. I used red chilies and jalapenos. You can use any peppers you might want. And like I said, you could also leave them out. I made this dish particularly super hearty. So I used zucchini squash. I just used 2 whole zucchini squash. That seems to be plenty enough. Just chopping them up into about 1/2 inch sort of cubes. And then I gave my peppers a nice chop. Now, I took the seeds out of the chilies. I did not take the seeds out of the jalapenos. So I didn't want the chilies super spicy, but I was okay with the level of spice in the jalapenos. So I left the seeds in there. I didn't worry about it too much, but basically just want to give it a fine chop. Doesn't need to be minced or anything. But like I said, you can go crazy. You can get creative with what you put in this particular dish. The actual recipe itself is actually very simplistic. All the things you see here, I chose to do. For example, just adding the different types of peppers. You could probably use different types of chilies, poblanos, habaneros, whatever. It's all kind of cool because you can actually play with a lot of different textures, flavors, spice levels, as well as color variations, which is one of the cooler things about cooking in general is you can get real creative in that way. I mean, honestly, you're eating really, most of the experience is just before you even start eating anyways, what you see. So this dish is particularly colorful. Next, you're going to go ahead and just take an onion. I used a basic white onion. You can use yellow. You can use red onions. It really just depends on what flavor profile you're looking for. I just chose to use standard white, just a regular medium size. Seems to be plenty. Just chop it in half and give it a nice slice, and then just make sure you kind of break it up. The other thing I added in here were sweet peppers. Again, you do not need to add these. I added them because I like it, and I wanted this dish to be as hearty as possible. Plus, all of these things you see here have tons and tons of awesome micronutrients. So I wanted to make this dish extremely complex, but the sweetness sort of offsets the spice a little bit. And I was able to find sweet peppers already sliced up into rings, which is really cool. So I just used one sort of bag of sweet rings is what it was called, but it's basically just sweet peppers already cut up. Once you get that together, go ahead and get you a fairly big pan, deep pan. Make sure it's hot. The best way to test that out is to sprinkle a little water in there and see if it dances, and then you can put your oil in there. I just used olive oil. But you can use any kind of oil you want, macadamia oil, as long as it's sort of high temperature. I used organic extra virgin olive oil. I also put a few tablespoons of garlic in there. Again, you don't need to do this. This isn't really a part of the recipe. I just chose to add garlic simply because, honestly, I love garlic. So I wanted to add that particular flavor into this dish. So basically, you just cook the garlic down a little bit until it starts to brown. It's going to add a lot of flavor into the zucchini, and of course aromatics. You're going to be smelling that. It's going to be good. Now with zucchini in this particular dish, you do not want to cook it until it's absolutely soft. You just want to brown it, make sure it starts to just get slightly soft, because you're going to continue to cook this all together. And if you overcook it now, it's going to be a mushy mess by the time it's done. So you just brown it until it's just starting to get yellow, just starting to get soft, and then you're going to start putting your other ingredients in there. So just go ahead and toss your peppers in there. One of the coolest things about this dish is it's basically just a one pan type dealio. As long as you have a big enough pan. If you don't have a big pan, you could do it all separately. Just gotta be a little bit more cleanup. But if you have a big pan, it's basically just a one pan type deal, and you're gonna need a baking dish as well. But just go ahead and throw your onions in there, then your peppers in there, and then just cook those down until they just start getting soft and translucent. So just a few minutes really should take. Until you start seeing that really start to break down and all those flavors really start to meld together. Now you don't need to drain this either. This is all going to go into a casserole, so you don't need to drain any of it. All that liquid in there is actually going to be good for this dish, so don't worry about that. But as you can see, all those flavors are coming together. Everything's starting to soften. It's starting to really cook down. And I got to tell you, man, it smells fantastic in this kitchen right now. Fantastic. Now don't be too shy. This particular pan isn't quite deep enough, so I did make a little bit of a mess. Just kind of clean as you go. It's okay, but you do want a sizable pan. Once everything starts to get cooked down a little bit, then you're going to add your ground beef. Start to break that up. I made it easier on myself by just breaking it up as I put it in the dish, mixed it around a little bit, and then just sort of get that kind of in there. And then you're going to add your spices. So the spices I used, because I didn't want to you could buy a store-bought taco seasoning if you want. It just has a lot of nonsense in it. So what I chose to do is I used garlic powder, onion powder. I used ancho chili powder, and then I used a little cumin, and then I used smoked paprika. About 3 tablespoons minimum of your smoked paprika, your garlic powder, etc. But with cumin tends to be a little bit strong, so I like to keep that about 1 tablespoon to 2 tablespoons. In reality, you are going to taste this anyway, so if you need more, you can add more, which is what I did here. So I had a little bit in there, eyeballed it. Boom. You can see all of it start to melding together. The colors start to change. The actual beef is beginning to cook through. And all that wonderful fat is actually melding together with all the juices from all those vegetables, the flavors from the garlic, the spice in those chilies. Everything's really starting to render together at the bottom. And man, again, it smells amazing. Amazing. All I did was I took a little bit of a fork or a spoon, got in there, got a little piece of that beef, and I just had a quick taste of that just to make sure the spice was where I wanted it to be. Make sure everything was sort of balanced and even. So you got the beef flavor, you got the vegetable flavor, you got a little bit of that spice, the sweetness, etc. If you need to add more seasoning, add more seasoning. Don't be shy with the seasoning. That's okay. And then what you're going to do here is take this and put it all into a bowl, a fairly large bowl, of course, because it is a lot of stuff. My suggestion is to either set it aside for a little while or put it in the fridge to cool down, because what you're going to do next is you're going to beat 6 eggs together and you're actually going to pour it into that mix. And if that mixture is too hot, you're going to end up with scrambled eggs in your taco mix, which is not going to be fun. So what I did was I just put that while I was getting the eggs out, while I was cleaning everything up, while I was beating the eggs, I put that into the fridge, let that cool down substantially. So you want to add a lot of air in those eggs, make sure it's nice and fluffy, and then just pour that right in the mixture. Take your spoon and just stir that in thoroughly, and you actually could see how the consistency of the entire mixture completely turns around. It becomes very creamy, very creamy and sort of liquidy. The fat from the beef, all those flavors from the vegetables, all that juice in there is now coming in with the eggs and make this very awesome sort of base. That's where this casserole type deal comes into play. Man, this dish is amazing. It is so freaking good and so freaking easy, and it's definitely worth doing. So simple. So simple. Some people don't like eggs. You do not have to use eggs. You can use that there's a few mixes and things you can add instead of eggs, but trust me, you don't even taste the eggs in there. It's just to combine everything and make it sit as a casserole. So if you don't like eggs, don't worry. It's not like you're going to taste the eggs, but if you don't have eggs, there's other things you can choose to use. But and just make sure you lay it out in your baking dish and make sure it's nice and even all the way across. take a look at it, make sure it's not overly meaty in some areas, make sure it's thoroughly mixed, and then it's just kind of flatten it out. You're going to put this into a 350 degree oven, so be sure to preheat this, make sure it's ready to go. Now, I used about a medium-sized bag of mixed sort of Mexican cheese. I used an entire bag. Basically, you want to cover the entire thing. It's not overly thick. Just basically, you put it in there and just cover all the empty spots up until it's basically completely covered on top with cheese. That's going to seal all that stuff in underneath and give you that wonderful, nice, crusty texture on the top. A mixture of sort of gooiness and sort of crispiness on the edges. Oh my gosh, I'm getting hungry just thinking about it. It's so stinking good. It is so stinking good. But it also adds a really cool color element. But like I said, you're going to put this into a 350 degree oven for at least 25 minutes until basically the casserole itself sets, which you should be able to tell, especially if you're using a clear baking dish like I'm using. But anywhere between 25 and 30 minutes should be plenty. I gave it a little bit more time because I wanted the cheese to actually brown just slightly, so you have sort of crispiness on the edge. As soon as that's just about done, go ahead and take out your jalapeno. I left one to the side. You can add as many as you want. You can even add more peppers if you want. Just depends on what you're into. You can even leave it off. The last one I made, I strictly put avocado and tomatoes on the top. This time I chose to make it a little bit more spicy, so I added some sliced jalapeno, fresh jalapeno, and some chopped up tomatoes. So you can see I'm just basically taking a couple of these vine-ripe tomatoes, slicing them up, and then giving them a nice chop till they're in evenly shaped cubes, and I'm going to set them aside into a jar. I did not have avocado at this point, so I didn't put avocado on there at this time, but you definitely can do that. It adds a nice cooling, creamy aspect to the dish that will take care of a lot of that spiciness, especially if you're not a person that's really into uber spicy dishes. This dish really isn't all that spicy. It's really not. And you can sort of have control over that and make it more spicy if you want, or less spicy, depending. So just have some fun with it. Do what you like. Follow your own sort of your own palate. And I got this. I'm not really a fan of iceberg lettuce, simply because there's really not that much of a nutritional sort of aspect to it, and it doesn't really even taste all that great. It's sort of very simple. I prefer sort of romaine, or I prefer like spinach or something like that. But I got this bag. These bags of shredded iceberg on sale at the store, and a lot of what we do is to create sort of budget-friendly meals. So if you can get something like that that's actually tastes decent, tastes okay, and it's sort of standard for tacos or whatever, or the dish you're making, you can't really pass it up. I mean, I saved a ton of money on this dish. I mean, all this stuff is really, really inexpensive and easy to find. So once you pull it out of the oven, you notice how it's got those slightly brown, crispy edges. I love that. The center of it, super melty and creamy, and the outside of it's very crusty, and it adds just another textural element as well as an additional sort of nuttiness to the flavor profile. It's actually really cool. You don't have to do that. You can just undercook it slightly so it's all cheesy and melty. But I just give it a little bit more of that crispy crisp, and just do it like you see here. Just go ahead and lay down your jalapenos or your peppers or whatever you choose. Sprinkle on your tomatoes. Put your avocado if you choose to put on there. Similar to what I did with the enchilada recipe. And then sprinkle some lettuce on top, man. This thing tastes 100% like a taco, and it's super hearty, and it's pretty much no carb. It's keto friendly. This is a keto recipe, so a lot of you guys are doing the keto diet. You're interested in really awesome, easy, cool recipes to remain in keto. This is one of those dishes, man. This thing is so delicious, so hearty. It's very, very, very heavy as well, so you're gonna be full, especially if you're putting in all those extra peppers, extra vegetables, the zucchini squash especially. Now to garnish this dish, Just chop you up some cilantro. If you don't like cilantro, I know a lot of people think it tastes like soap. If you don't like cilantro, just use parsley. But basically just sprinkle that right on top. It gives it a nice, beautiful flare of color, as well as just a nice freshness on the outside. If you want to even go further, cut you up a nice lime and sprinkle some lime on top, and then that's pro tip right there. That's a pro tip. Now, like you see here, I just gave it a nice sprinkle, and then put a nice solid dollop of some cool sour cream on top. Another way you could do that is actually make a crema. You just mix a little lime juice with your sour cream, maybe some spices, make a little crema, and just have a sauce instead of sour cream. Tons of stuff you could do with these dishes, guys. Just get really freaking creative, man. I have a lot of fun working with these dishes, and in the kitchen, man. It's one of my favorite places to be, man. So much you could do, so much variety, so much creativity, and just look how beautiful that is, man. Look how gorgeous this freaking casserole is. You know, like, you don't think of casseroles actually being sort of like gorgeous when you're eating them. They're just something simple and easy to feed the family. But this is wonderful. It's beautiful. It's got multiple layers, multiple textures, and it's just dang good. Dang good. I mean, I believe I used 90-10. In this particular dish. You can use 80-20. I wanted to control the fat a little bit more, but look at all that in just one bite. I've got a little bit of peppers, I got cilantro, I got beef, I've got cheese, I got all that. Just one freaking bite, and it is just amazing. It is amazing. Mouth-wateringly delicious. Ugh. And as heavy as it is, it just melts. It just melts. It's just so freaking good. Super balanced, super intense in flavor, and it's just fun, man. Make this dish, man. Your family will love it. If you're a fan of tacos, you will love this dish. Trust me. Boom! Alright guys, that's it for the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I definitely had a lot of fun making this video. Definitely had a lot of fun trying this recipe, guys. These things are super easy to find, man. All I do is go on the internet, read some books, find some recipes, and then I make it mine. Change things up, add some flavors in that I like, find out ways to do the recipes in ways that are healthier and easy to find in terms of ingredients, etc. Make things super inexpensive, budget friendly, and I know a lot of you guys are out there looking for that right now. Especially with everything that's going on, you want things that can fill you up, that can feed your family, that are inexpensive and are healthy but fun. And this recipe is great for that. It is keto friendly. I am not personally on keto, but I enjoy certain keto recipes, and this is awesome. Guys, this is definitely a lot of fun to make. Try this recipe, make it your own, see what you could do with it. Add your own flair to it, man. Get savage, go crazy, man. Life is about experiences, and food's one of them, to be honest with you. So have fun, enjoy it. Anyway, guys, until next time, as always, please comment, like, subscribe, throw that little thumbs up for me. That helps us out, helps us grow this channel. Thank you so much for all of your support. So much more coming down the pipeline, of course, on both channels. We were having a lot of fun. If you're interested in any merchandise, of course, check us out on Teespring as well as UGUEbrothers.com. Tons of stuff on there, guys. Anyway, guys, until next time, I'm going to get back to it. Peace and love.